What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Tomorrow I'm playing in a casual 2010 format tournament over Discord, and I was creating a deck for a bit today for it, and I thought I'd share the deck with you guys and do a little deck profile on an older deck from about 10 years ago. One of my favorites from the time, which was Palkia G Level X Lock, or you could call it Palkia G Mesprit. But I think it was usually known by Palkia Lock. So I'm going to do this deck profile on this cool older deck for you guys. Real quick, shout out to PotownStore.com, best place to get PTCGO codes. Use code Celio for 5% off. And also shout out to FlipsideGaming.com, where you can use my code Celio, all caps, for 10% off on your next order, $10 or more. So I made the proxies for this on Proxy Croak, so I also just exported the image real quick from there as well. So Palkia GX Level X, it's really a conglomerate of using the Palkia GX Level X's Poke Power to clear your bench to then use more Mesprit Poke Powers. So I think we'll start with Mesprit since it's such an important part of this deck and I am running 4 of it. Mesprit has the Psychic Bind ability, which reads, once during your turn when you put Mesprit from your hand onto your bench, you may use this power. Your opponent can't use any Poke Powers on his or her Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So note that Poke Powers and Poke Bodies were separate abilities back then. So abilities weren't a thing. It was either a Poke Power, which was usually a use this when you play it down, or once per turn use this ability or Poke Power type thing. And Poke Bodies were usually more of the constant kind of abilities. So Mesprit locks your opponent from basically using their setup abilities. Namely, Uxie has the Poke Power called Setup. Once during your turn, when you put Uxie from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 7 cards in your hand. So this was a very useful ability, very common ability. Or Poke Power. I'm going to keep calling them abilities throughout this video, so I do apologize. But that was a very common Poke Power, the Uxie card, which I am running 3 of in this deck, as well as a Zelf was very common, which has the Poke Power Time Walk. It lets you look at your prize cards, get a Pokemon from there, show it to your opponent, and switch it with a card in your hand. And you actually got to, you didn't have to randomize your prize card, so people would actually take notes just to know which prize card was which, and that helped for prize mapping later on. Throughout the game, kind of like if you would use Town Map in recent formats, a Zelf was similar to that, but it also got you a Pokemon out of there. Kind of like Gladion, the supporter card that lets you get any Pokemon out, or any card out. But of course that also randomizes. So Mesprit, the Psychic Bind, is a very important ability, or it's a very important Poke Power in this deck. Using Mesprit Psychic Bind to repeatedly lock your opponent out of using their Poke Powers. And then Palkia G Level X has the Poke Power Lost Cyclone. Once during your turn, you may use this power. Any player who has 4 or more benched Pokemon chooses 3 of their benched Pokemon, puts the other benched Pokemon and all cards attached into the Lost Zone. And then this power can't be used if Palkia G is affected by a special condition. That was a common thing back in the older days of the game, where a power couldn't be used if the Pokemon was affected by a special condition. Also note for level X's, anyone that's not familiar, so a level X does not count as evolving a Pokemon, it counts as leveling them up. It can only be done if the Pokemon is in the active spot. It has to have been down for 1 turn, just like an evolution. And they don't award an extra prize card. A level X Pokemon is still just a 1 prize card Pokemon. So Palkia G Level X has that ability, Lost Cyclone, that can let you clear a couple Pokemon off of your bench, so you can then use more when this Pokemon is played abilities or Poke Powers. So you have the Mesprit that locks your opponent's Poke Powers. You have the Uxie with the setup that allows you to draw cards. You have the Crobat G with Flash Bite, which basically does the same thing as Galarian Zigzagoon. When you play this card from your hand to your bench, you can put a damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So making room to use this flashbite power is good. And of course, you can repeatedly reuse the flashbite power with Poketurn, Team Galactic's invention G105 Poketurn, which just simply returns one of your Pokemon SP and all cards attached to it to your hand. So you use this to heal your Palkia G and your Garchomp C, and you use it to reuse your Crobat G. But so Palkia G's Lost Cyclone allows you to make some bench space, so you can use your Mesprit, use your Uxie, use your Crobat G, maybe get down the extra card that you needed, the Garchomp or the Toxicroak. So now that you kind of know what a lot of the main Pokemon do, the game pretty much goes, you want to get an energy and an energy gain onto your Palkia G, and start just doing some chip damage while you are using Psychic Bind every turn to lock their Poke Powers. If you can't use Psychic Bind, if you don't have the bench space, if you just couldn't find one, you can also have Power Spray as a backup plan. And Power Spray is a trainer card that reads, you may play this card during your opponent's turn when your opponent's Pokemon uses any Poke Power. Prevent all effects of that Poke Power. If you have 2 or less Pokemon SP in play, you can't play this card. So you have to have at least 3 Pokemon SP, which are your Palkias, your Garchomp line, Toxicroak, Crobat, and Bronzong. So you have to have at least 3 Pokemon SP in play to use Power Spray. But Power Spray is a really good card. It can be used in, like I said, the lull turns where you didn't get a Mesprit down, but you can still cancel one important ability, like an Uxie or like a Time Walk, or maybe your opponent's own Psychic Bind for Mesprit. So I chose to add the Garchomp C level X into here. That wasn't traditionally in all Palkia G Lock decks, but I do remember playing with a 1-1 or a 2-1 line of Garchomp 10 years ago when I had this deck built. So for 2 reasons, both its ability, or both its Poke Power and its attack are both very good. So its Poke Power is Healing Breath. Once during your turn, when you put Garchomp C level X from your hand onto your active Garchomp C, you may remove all damage counters from each of your Pokemon SP. So if your Garchomp C had some chip damage on it, but namely if your Palkia G level X had some damage on it, potentially you used the Palkia's splashing turn to switch it, you can evolve into Healing Breath and heal the damage off of your Palkia G, your Garchomp C, if it already had some chip damage on it, like I said. Maybe your opponent's playing some sort of spread deck and you want to heal your Palkia G's, your multiple Palkia G that may be on the board, etc. And then, of course, the Dragon Rush attack, which was very strong since Claydol with Cosmic Power had 80 HP and was a main source of drawing in this format. Dragon Rush, discard 2 energy attached to Garchomp C. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 80 damage to that Pokemon. Garchomp C can't use Dragon Rush during your next turn. So this can snipe off a Cosmic Power Claydol. Let's say it's turn 5 or 6 or 7, and you've run out of ways to stop your opponent from drawing cards with their Poke Powers, and they've somehow made it this far into the game. You want to take care of their Claydol so they still can't use it. So now you can't lock them with Mesprit or Power Spray, but you can still just knock out the Pokemon and they can't use it. So I do like the option of Garchomp C. And then, of course, the Toxicroak G here might seem a little out of place. It's a fighting Pokemon that uses a Psychic Energy and a Colorless Energy to attack. And Poison Revenge does 20 plus if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack during their last turn. This attack does 20 plus 40 more, and the defending Pokemon is now poisoned. So this can one-shot a Luxray G level X for a Psychic Energy and an energy gain. You could also potentially run SP Energy, which is sort of like a Rainbow Energy, but it doesn't have any negative effect. It just only works on SP Pokemon. But because of Cyrus's conspiracy and also Roseanne's research, I decided to just run the 2 basic Psychic Energy, and I also have 2 ways to get them back with Aaron's Collection and Night Maintenance. So I just want to make sure I kind of cover all of the key cards. Unknown G is there to stop things like Machamp's Takeout. It stops effects of attacks done to the Pokemon it's attached to. Unknown Q is nice because it can give the Pokemon -1 retreat cost. So there weren't float stones back then, but you had Unknown Q, and it's also searchable by your Pokemon search, which is nice. Cyrus's Conspiracy is probably, if not one of my most favorite supporter cards of all time, then my absolute favorite supporter card of all time. Search your deck for a supporter card, a basic energy card, and a trainer card that has Team Galactic's Convention in its name, and then put them into your hand. So it allows you to get your supporter card for next turn, which sometimes might just be another Cyrus. It allows you to get a basic energy, so you have your attachment for turn. And it also allows you to get a Team Galactic's Invention, which in this deck means you can get an energy gain, a Poke Turn, a Power Spray, or an SP Radar. Now, SP Radar is an item card. Back then, it was called a trainer card, but today you would know it as an item card. Choose a card from your hand, put it on top of your deck, search your deck for a Pokemon SP, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. If this is the only card in your hand, you can't play this card. So this is a non-supporter version of BB Search that's only used for Pokemon SP. And then, of course, we also have a BB Search in here, which is the same exact thing as SP, but it can get you any Pokemon, not just an SP Pokemon. I have a split of Roseanne's Research and Pokemon Collector, since Pokemon Collector can get you three basic Pokemon, but Roseanne's Research can get you a combination of 2 basic Pokemon and basic energy cards. Sometimes you're going to want a basic energy as well, so maybe you just need a Mesprit and a basic water energy so you can attack and Psychic Bind. Roseanne's Research is great in that scenario, but then if Pokemon Collector is like the last card in your hand, and you can go Pokemon Collector for Garchomp, C, Mesprit, and Uxie. Play down the Garchomp, play down the Mesprit, lock your opponent, then use your Poke Power setup to draw 7 cards. In that case, Pokemon Collector is very good. Other than that, I think Expert Belt is probably worth mentioning. So, this is a tool card. The Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 20 HP, and the attacks do 20 more damage to the opposing active Pokemon, and then it makes this Pokemon worth 1 more prize card. So this is the only time where there is a 2 prize Pokemon. Like I said, the level X's only reward 1 prize card, but Expert Belt being attached makes the Pokemon worth 2 prizes. So plus 20 HP and plus 20 damage was actually a fairly big deal back in this era. Especially if you're using your SP Pokemon that you can Poke a Turn and heal them, or heal them with Garchomp C level X's Healing Breath, then them being worth an extra prize card might not even be that big of a deal, since you can heal them thanks to that extra HP. Maybe they live an extra hit. Other than that, we went over the Garchomp, the Palkia, all of the Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf. Oh, the Azelf that is not the Time Walk one from Mysterious Treasure, which, if you did not know, Mysterious Treasures was a set before Mysterious Treasure was an item card. This Azelf has the Pokebody Downer material. If you have Uxie and Mesprit in play, in addition to this Azelf, the attack cost of each of your opponent's basic Pokemon's attacks is plus colorless more. So this is really great against any opposing decks that are also focused on all basic Pokemon. Now, we do have all basic Pokemon. There is Mewtwo level X in this format, which cannot be hit by basic Pokemon. Or I believe it says if by non-evolved Pokemon. So it can't be hit by basic Pokemon. It can't be hit by level X's. I don't have a counter for that in my current list. Maybe going into more 2010 format tournaments, if I play more of them, I'll have to see how many people actually keep Mewtwo level X's in their deck. I'm not thinking that the tournament I'm playing in tomorrow is going to be too teched out, too knowledgeable of the meta. It's just we're trying to have some fun. So we'll have to see how that goes. The last card I will mention is Call Energy, which is such a nostalgic card, such an iconic card. Call Energy provides a colorless energy, and then once during your turn, if the Pokemon Call Energy is attached to as your active Pokemon, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, and then your turn ends. So this can be used turn 1, since you can attack turn 1 in this format. If you aren't aware, you cannot play trainer supporters or stadiums turn 1 going first, but you can attach energy, you can use Poke Powers, you can use Poke Bodies, you can attack. So call energy in place of an attack, basically, going first on turn 1 is definitely a common thing if you have the call energy or if you can use setup to draw into it. And I think that's about all I have to say on this deck for now. I am hoping to record some of my games in this Discord tournament that I'm playing in tomorrow. And if anyone's interested and the tournament goes well and they're going to be organizing more of these in this Discord, I'll put a link somewhere, maybe in the description of this video, or I'll tweet it out or something, in case anybody else wants to get on these tournaments. So yeah, I'm really excited to play Palkia Lock. I guess it's been about 10 years since I shuffled up this deck, and it's crazy because I remember sitting in this very room, like, finally getting the cards. I used to trade cards over Pokegym forums. Like, I would mail out cards and then they would mail out cards, and I finally had the cards to build this Palkia with Garchomp Lock deck, like full 60 real cards. And I sold all my old cards a long time ago. I don't really regret it. I wouldn't have used them for like 9 years now. But yeah, it's just really cool to be building this deck all over again and playing with it tomorrow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this old school deck profile of Palkia Lock. Hopefully I'll be doing more of these kind of videos. And like I said, hopefully I'll also have a deck profile, not a deck profile. Hopefully I'll have matches to go along with this deck profile pretty soon if I can record some of my games. We're going to be playing tabletop webcam style. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, check out PotownStore.com and FlipsideGaming.com, 2 great websites. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.